Okay, trustees and senior men and other people who are attending now live stream, we're going to start the supplementary meeting. But before we start the supplementary meeting, I just want to welcome and say good evening to everyone here in the boardroom, to my trustee colleagues who are joining us on the phone while engaged in our social distancing, and to those who are watching us live stream tonight, which is a first for the Peel Board. Out of an abundance of caution to limit the spread of this COVID-19, we have asked trustees to participate by WebEx telephone in tonight's meeting, and the physical attendance of members of the public is not permitted. This is supported by the ministry's amendment to the applicable regulation as done last week. We will, however, be posting the video of tonight's live stream on the board's website tomorrow. Therefore, the meeting is not closed to the public. Because tonight's meeting is a supplementary meeting of the board to deal with a single issue concerning the ministry's directive, there are no public participation components to this meeting. This means that there are no delegations and no question period. These will be on the agenda of the future regular meeting, public meeting of the board. The board regular meeting scheduled for tonight was canceled by a motion at last board meeting in anticipation that we will receive the minister's direction and need to focus on those issues. Because there are several items from the directives in that report that need to be dealt with before March 26, which is Thursday, the supplementary meeting was called to deal only with those items. There may be reasons in the future to call supplementary meetings in order to meet other ministry guidelines, but we will be attempting to do everything in the public forum through public regular meetings. Moving forward, all regular board meetings will be live streamed and will include a means for public participation, even if the public cannot physically be in the meeting room due to the COVID pandemic. The procedure to participate will be posted on the board's website. The amendment to the regulations suspending the requirements to permit the physical presence of public in the meeting room will actually continue for 60 days after the order closing the schools has expired. Currently, schools are closed to April 5th, 2020, but we expect the Ministry of Education to announce an extension as indicated by Premier Doug Ford's comments yesterday. We appreciate that these are not normal times. We are doing everything we can to keep people safe. In doing so, we must change the way we do business. But rest assured that we will ensure our bylaws are followed and that members of our community are aware of the new practices and processes that we put in place to respond to the COVID-19 limitations. For those who may not be aware, on March 13th, after consulting with students, staff, family, trustees, and community members, the Ministry of Education released its final report on the Peel District School Board's review, which was announced on November 2019. Also released on March 13 were 27 directives for the Peel Board to undertake, some immediately. We encourage staff and members of the community to read the report and the directives and to reflect on the findings, which serve as serious and deeply concerning accounts of traumatic experiences, especially for members of the Peel's Black community, as well as other racialized communities. These experiences speak to systematic and historic barriers that exist in the Peel Board related to access to pathways and programming, academic achievement, transitions to post-secondary education, and the workforce, hiring and promotion, community engagement, and disciplinary measures both in education and employment. It is clear that many individuals have been negatively affected over the years, and we apologize for that trauma and hurt they have experienced. But apologies mean nothing if we don't take action to address and correct systemic issues that result in the marginalization and oppression. At the next board meeting, we hope to be providing the official apology that you deserve from the school board. We acknowledge that trust has been lost between the board, staff, student, and members and community, but more importantly, especially the members of the Black community and others who have experienced marginalization and discrimination. We have much to do to undertake the remedial work necessary to seek reconciliation so that we can regain trust and public confidence. We are committed to take immediate action of all the ministry's directives and will begin the work officially tonight as we hit item 6 in the agenda. But first, we must begin with item 1, which is the approval of the agenda. Sorry? No, it's not a regular meeting. So someone asked me if we do O Canada. No, the supplementary meeting, we don't do O Canada. So we have to do approval of the agenda. So we're going to do a roll call, and then we will do the process. Since everything's electronic, we have to go through this one by one. And I have my sheet somewhere. I lost it already. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Of my people online. So we'll start up the list. Balbir, Trustee Sohi, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. That's one person. Trustee Marchand, are you here?
I'm here.
Perfect. Trustee McDonald, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. I see here student trustee Aurora.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Trustee DeCroop.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Trustee Benjamin.
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Student trustee Nar. Student trustee Nar, I see you here. Can you say you're here? Or you can type it. Let me come back to her. Trustee Crocker?
Here.
Perfect. Trustee Lawton? Trustee, I see she's typed here. Trustee Lawton has said she's typed here. Trustee Davies has said typed that he's here. So Trustee Green is present in the room, and we have regrets from Trustee Andrews. So we have all here, except we haven't heard from Trustee Nar. So,
Hello?
so that's you, Trustee Nar?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Stan Cameron, I missed Stan Cameron. I apologize, I saw the check mark. Trustee Cameron.
Here, I texted as well.
Okay, I apologize, I didn't see that. So, with myself here, we have 11 and 2 student trustees here. So we have the roll call. So now we'll start going through approval of the agenda on the floor. So can I, Trustee Cameron, can you put that on the floor?
I will.
And Trustee Davies, would you second that? Trustee Davies, can you say yes? I'll second it.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, those all in favor, I will go down the roll call again individually to get everyone to get the approval of the agenda. So Trustee Sohi?
Yeah, approve.
Okay,
I'm in favor.
thank you. Trustee Marchand?
Approved.
Trustee McDonald?
Yes.
Trustee DeCroop?
Yes.
Trustee Benjamin?
Yes.
Perfect. Trustee Crocker?
Yes.
Trustee Cameron?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Lawton? Trustee Lawton? Oh, she says in favor. She's typed it in. And Trustee Davies is approved by typing it in. So Trustee Green, your approval. Me as chair, so that's unanimous. We are now have an approved agenda. So I will go on to the first order of business is declaration of conflict of interest. Do I have anyone who has a conflict of interest? Seeing none, I'll move on to the chair's request for written questions or notice of motions. Do I have any? Seeing none, I'll skip right to section 6, where we deal with the 6-1 ministry direction to the Peel School Board. So I'll need someone to put that on the floor, so I'll start at the top of the list. Trustee Sohi, would you put that on the floor?
Yep, I will.
Okay, I'll go to the next person. Trustee Marchand, would you second that?
Yes, done.
Thank you. So now we'll go to a vote. So we'll start at the top again. Trustees Sohi, sorry, I apologize, no votes. I've just got it on the floor. Yep. Sorry, just, I have to turn it on, I apologize.
I know the public is watching, and some of them may not have the agenda, so wouldn't be prudent for us to maybe just read through these briefly, so that the public can know what we are approving tonight, because these are all part of the directives anyhow.
Right, and I didn't mean to go right to approval because we actually have quite a few little action items to do out of this. So this report, and I'll read it, the background: on November 27th, the Ministry of Education, Honorable Stephen Lecce, announced a review of the Peel District School Board under the authority of the Provincial Interest in Education's Ontario Regulation 43/10, and appointed a committee of 3 external persons to conduct the review. On March 13th, 2020, the Minister of Education submitted a letter to Peel District School Board with 27 directions to the board and corresponding timelines and deliverables. They've been added to to this report. If you go online to the Peel website, you can get the actual agenda and the details of the directives, or you can go to the Ministries of Education's website and get the report and directive from there as well. This report goes on talking about rationale. The board is committed to support students, staff, members of the community, and ensuring that public feels confident of the Peel District School Board and Ontario's public education system. Regular reports will be provided to ensure action identified the Ministry of Education are completed within the timelines identified. The first action each member of the board must undertake is to submit a letter to the Ministry of Education, committing to participate fully in mediation in accordance with Directive Number 1. The letter must be submitted by March 26th. So as of today, we have 11 of those letters, and we're just waiting for the last letter. In order to comply with these immediate timelines of March 22nd, for certain directives, it is recommended that the Peel District School Board consider each of the following recommendations at the March 24th supplementary meeting of the board. We have 6 recommendations for motions, and we'll be doing those individually, and I will read those out individually. So the first recommendation is to have a motion resolved that the Peel District School Board receive the Ministry of Education's 27 directives to the Peel District School Board for information and commit to completion of the deliverables and timelines as indicated therein. So, does anyone of the trustees want to put this motion on the floor? I have trustee Green is signaling he'll put it on the floor, and I will open it up to trustee McDonald. Would you like to second that?
I will.
Thank you. So, does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a question, Brad.
Okay.
It's
Yes,
Stan.
yes, Cameron?
Just before we move forward, I just want to correct something in the last paragraph under the rationale. It reads, in order to comply with the immediate timeline of March 26, 2020. I just want to clarify that you said March 22nd, 2020. I know what you meant, and I know what it reads here, but if we're moving forward formally here, we should be going with what is written and not just what is said. So it's March 26th.
I appreciate that, trustee Cameron, and all those twos lined it up, and I did,
Yeah.
apologize. So
See.
let's just, the last paragraph says, in order to comply with the immediate timelines of March 26, 2020, for certain directives, it is recommended the Peel School Board consider the following recommendations at today's March 24th, 2020 supplementary meeting of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
So do I have any other comments or questions on the first motion that we're looking at on the floor? So what I'm going to do is I'll go down the roll call to approve this motion.
Can
So,
we speak on this motion?
oh, yeah, sorry, you can speak on the motion. Yes, please do. So that's what I meant. Yes, trustee.
Brad, can we speak on the report or like the overall theme before we get into the motions? Or do you want to do that at the end?
I think it'd be best to do it at the end. Would that be better?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hello?
Yes, trustee Sohi, you had
Yes,
comments?
sorry.
Motion?
Yes, I'm actually, like everyone, we all reviewed, and unfortunately, we came to know, which we knew, and now it's confirmed by the ministry review. I would also like to talk about the neglect in LGBTQ and Indigenous community, and also the South Asian community, which is pointed out by the report. Specifically to the Punjabi youth, about the youth violence and the drug problems. So these things these things are in the report, but there are no directives on that. So I understand that now we are focused on the directives that are given by the ministry for those deadlines. But I also want to say that while we are doing all that work, and in many areas we can incorporate what has brought in front of us during this the review by the ministry on the other communities, in the other communities as well.
Thank you. Any other trustees want to talk to the motion?
Yes, it's me, Susan Benjamin.
Yes,
I too echo what Trustee W. Soy said. In addition to all the recommendations made, we know that there are a lot of other problems that we are facing in the board. So we take it as a whole and try to resolve these problems as a whole. So we do not have, other communities coming in and saying, oh, you have neglected us. So that's my only suggestion.
thank you. Do I have anyone else want to talk to the motion on the floor of recommendation 1? Okay. So seeing none, I will go on to the voting of recommendation 1. So we'll start at the top of the list that I have here. And trustee Sohi, do you approve?
I approve. I'm in favor.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Approve.
She approved. Okay, thank you. Okay, trustee Marchand?
In favor. Approve.
Okay, find you there. Trustee McDonald?
I'm in favor.
Perfect. Thank you. I see Trustee Aurora here.
Yes, in favor.
Okay. Trustee DeGroot?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Perfect. Trustee Benjamin?
Approved, in favor.
Perfect. Student Trustee Nar?
Yes, I'm approving.
Thank you. Trustee Crocker?
Agreed.
Thank you. Trustee Cameron?
In favor?
Okay. Trustee Lawton? I see she's typed in favor. Trustee Lawton is said in favor. Trustee Davies, he's written approved as well in the text chat. And Trustee Green, you're in favor, and the chair was in favor. So we have unanimous on the first motion. So the next recommended motion is that effective immediately, the Peel District School Board trustees cease all participation on hiring, promotion, and appointment panels, including for temporary or acting positions, except for the position of the Director of Education, and that a draft policy restricting the board membership from participating on hiring, promotion, and appointment panels for position other than the Director of Education be brought to the May meeting of May 26, 2020, regular board meeting for approval. So we'll now go down and have someone put that on the floor. So Trustee McDonald, would you put that on the floor, please?
I will.
Thank you. Trustee DeCroot, would you second that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So does anyone want to talk to this motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
In the directives, we were instructed to hire a second integrity commissioner.
Correct.
So I'm going to, who is going to be hiring, who will be on the hiring panel for that? Integrity commissioner.
Yeah, so that, to my understanding, is not the trustees now. The director will be hiring that and come to us with a report saying they've hired this person. That's to my understanding. Was that?
Sorry, if I could clarify, I would check in with the ministry, because the integrity commissioner is a separate entity from director and board staff. This is about promotion activities around vice principals and principals and superintendents, and who would be the director of HR and that kind of thing. This would be for anybody who essentially reports to the director of education. Anyone who does not report to the director of education would be separate from this process, or should be. But I would advise to speak with the ministry about that, just to ensure that my understanding is clear of how this should work. An integrity commissioner should be hired through an RFP process, as we would hire anyone who is an external and wouldn't report to the director. But anybody who reports to the director, we would no longer be participating in their hiring or promotion process.
And you bring up a good point. First of all, it will go through the same process that we went through the last time of RFP, et cetera. But we'll find out who makes the decision on that, and we'll come back to you with that clarification when we ask the ministry.
And
if that's,
could I also add?
Yep.
Could I also add that if the RFP only has one person on it, that we resubmit it, because I think we need a wide field to, or less than two. We need a sufficient amount of applicants and make sure we have enough time and it is properly advertised, so that, we reach far and wide and people will be aware that we're in fact hiring an integrity commissioner with a focus on the human rights code.
Absolutely. The directive is very clear on that, and we must, find a competent person that meets all those criteria and more. So absolutely. Right now, the motion here is just to remove ourselves from all the hiring panels that we've been traditionally been involved in, not focused on the IC, but it's focused on all the other operational stuff. So,
Right.
but I take your point, and I will seek clarification when we go to, we have a directive to hire an IC, and we'll figure out how that has to play out, if it's the trustees involved, or if it's some other process.
Yes, because when you said draft policy, I just had concerns with the process that we'll be using, because I think it needs to be independent from the director's office also.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions about this motion? Okay, seeing none. I will start at the top again, and we'll go through this. Trustee Sohi, do you approve this motion number 2?
Yeah, I approve. I'm in favor.
Okay. Trustee Marchand, do you approve it?
Approved.
Okay, thank you. Trustee McDonald, do you approve this motion?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Trustee DeCroop, do you approve the motion?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Trustee Benjamin?
Yes, approved.
Perfect. Just getting all my checks in the right place here. I see Trustee Nar.
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. Trustee Crocker.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Cameron.
In text and in favor.
Yeah, thank you. I see the text. And I see Trustee Davies in text, has given me his text approval. And who did I miss? Trustee Lawton. She's in favor in text. And Trustee Green and Trustee McDonald. And I missed Trustee Aurora right at the top. I apologize. Trustee Aurora?
Yes, I approve.
Perfect. So we have unanimous. So we're now going to go on to the third motion. Be it resolved that until the Ministry of Education is satisfied that the Board of Trustees is able to work together with the Director and Associate Director to provide good governance, as in Directive 1, the Board suspend all complaints, whether formal and informal, pertaining to the Code of Conduct for the members of the Peel District School Board, including any and all open investigations and any and all reports that have yet to be considered by the members of the board in public meeting, and that the chair of the board communicate this decision to the Integrity Commission. So I'm just going to go down my list here, and Trustee Benjamin, do you put this on the floor?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. And the next person on the list is Trustee Cocker. Do you second this motion?
Sure.
Okay, so now that we have the motion on the floor, does anyone want to make any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to start at the top again and start my checklist. Trustee Sohi, are you in favor of the motion?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Trustee Marchand? I got in favor. He's just typed in favor. Okay.
I have a question
Okay,
about
sorry.
this.
Okay.
Just for transparency and clarity's sake, I know this is a direction that's coming from the ministry, but a few of us have been two of us have been the subject of all these complaints. So should we be declaring a conflict of interest or voting on this?
I don't see a conflict of interest because it's actually the government's telling us to do this. So you're just agreeing with what the government says.
Okay, thanks.
But that's a good point. Thank you. So where was I? Trustee McDonald, did I get your yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee DeCroop? Did I get a yes, trustee Crew?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we're working down the list. Trustee Benjamin?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Nar?
Yes.
Trustee Aurora?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Crocker?
Yes.
Yep, got that. Okay, Trustee Cameron, I see he's in favor in text. I see Trustee Will Davies is in text favor. And we're got Trustee, and finally Trustee Lawton is in favor. And finally Trustee Green and Trustee McDonald. So that's unanimous. So now we'll go on to recommendation 4. Be it resolved that the board retain on a temporary basis the service of an external parliamentarian/governance expert to establish governance procedures and practices, and such services shall be retained until such time as the ministry approves a progress report from the expert confirming that such practices and procedures are in place. So, I can't remember where I left off, but I will start down with Trustee Crocker. Would you put this on the floor?
Sure.
And Trustee Cameron, would you second that?
I will.
Thank
Yes.
you. So, do we have any questions or comments to this motion?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Through you, Chair, throughout the report, the ministry has asked for mediators and experts to assess the board and help with ensuring that recommendations are carried out. So my question is, how is the board going to be bringing these experts and mediators in, and what is the process of hiring them?
So you're talking about Directive 1? That's Directive 1, which is,
As well as it says that an expert. So like the experts that are recommended throughout the report, the review.
so for this motion, though, it's only talking about the parliamentary and governance expert. This process of hiring, this expert actually reports to the director. So the director will go through the standard RFP kind of process. But however, on this case, the government has assigned someone to us. And that person will be contracted to provide that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, I'll start at the top again. So Trustee Sohi, do you approve this motion?
Yes, I do. I approve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approved.
Who was that? Stan? Or
That was John.
that was John, okay. Don't get ahead of me, people. This is hard. Trustee McDonald?
Approved.
Thank you. Trustee DeCroop? Trustee DeCroop?
Approved.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Trustee Benjamin?
Approved.
Thank you. Trustee Nar?
Approved.
Trustee Aurora?
Approved.
Thank you. Trustee Crocker?
Agreed.
Okay. Trustee Cameron, did I see you're in favor of it? Yes, okay, on text?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Trustee Lawton, she's in favor in text. Trustee Davies, he's in favor in text. So Trustee Green, favor? Trustee McDonald is in favor, so passed. Okay, so recommendation 5 is a motion resolved that on or before April 1st, 2020, all members of the Board of Trustees submit to the Director of Education all documents in their possession or advise the Director of Education if they have no such documents regarding past hiring practices, promotion, and temporary appointments of employees of the Peel District School Board for preservation by the Peel District School Board, and that the Director of Education or his designate confirm that this step to the Ministry of Education by March 26 in accordance with Directive Number 26. So I will go down and say, Trustee Lawton, would you put this on the floor? Yes, she's put it on the floor by text. And Trustee Davies, would you second this? He has in text. So we now have this motion on the floor, and just so trustees, typically in all hiring processes, we always surrender our documents over to administration, but just in case you have any documents from any hiring process, this is the motion to submit those things back to the director, and so we can then say that we're okay and clear on this. So.
Excuse you, through you, Chair, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because it says resolve that on or before April 1, 2020, but then it says we must confirm this step by March 26.
So we're confirming that we're going to start the process, but on April 1st, we're going to say everyone's confirmed that they don't have anything or submitted, or they've submitted everything they had. So,
Okay.
so I just write a letter saying, we have this motion passed, we're going to have it ready for you by April 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, please, Trustee Benjamin.
Yeah, I would just like to know for which period you're talking. Is it during this term of office? That is from December 2018 onwards?
So I will ask the director to interject there, but you need this director to turn on your mic.
So through you, Chair, I just wanted to clarify from Trustee Benjamin, you're asking whether it's submission of any paperwork that you have just during this term?
Yes.
In actual fact, we need to ensure that any paperwork whatsoever that you have in your possession regarding any type of promotion process must be submitted to the director. Our practice has been that you shouldn't have any of that paperwork. It should have been submitted at the end of any promotion process that you've been involved in. But this is to assure that it's for all time, for all trustees.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify it. I don't have any, just clarifying.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Can I add something?
Yes, who's that? Stan?
Can I add something to that? It's Stan. That recommendation does say all documents regarding past hiring. So it's everything that could have been handed out or been used in any of those hiring, promotions, or temporary appointments, and it's regarding all past, which means if you're 2-term, 3-term, 5-term trustee, that's all.
Thank you, Trustee Cameron, for adding that to the director's comments. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to start up at the top again and start with Trustee Sohi. Do you approve?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So the next in the list is Trustee Marchand. Trustee Marchand?
Approved.
Okay, thank you. Trustee McDonald?
Approved.
Thank you. Trustee Aurora?
Approved.
Trustee Nar?
Approved.
Thank you. Trustee DeCroop?
Approved.
Thank you. Trustee Benjamin?
Yes, approved.
Thank you. Trustee Crocker?
I agree.
Thank you. Trustee Cameron? He's in favor in text. Okay. Trustee Lawton is in favor in text. And Trustee Davies. Trustee Davies, favor in text or no? I don't see anything from Trustee Will Davies. Will, I've opened your mic. Are you saying approved?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I texted as
Oh, sorry, Trustee Davies, you did it before Stan, I apologize. Thank you. Trustee Green, approved. Trustee McDonald, unanimous. We move on to the last recommendation of this report. Be it resolved that the chair of the board, on behalf of the trustees, will regularly communicate the board's progress to the Minister of Education, including submission of all formal recommendation reports and action plans as required by the minister's directive to the Peel District School Board, numbered of the directives 1 through 8 inclusive, as well as number 13. So I will go back to my top of my list, and Trustee Sohi, would you like to put that on the floor?
Yes.
Thank you. And the next person on there, Trustee Marchand, would you like to second?
Seconded.
Perfect. So, do I have any comments or questions over this motion that's now on the floor? Okay, seeing none, I'll start off my top of my list, and we'll go
Excuse
through.
me,
Sorry?
Trustee, Chair McDonald,
Yes,
the, for recommendation,
6?
no, thank you. The question is answered. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so you have no questions about that recommendation?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start at the top of the list. As I said, we'll start off with Trustee Sohi. Do you approve it?
Yes, in favor?
Thank you. Okay, Trustee Marchand?
In favor.
Perfect. Okay, Trustee McDonald?
Yes, in favor?
Thank you. Trustee Aurora?
In favor.
Thank you. Trustee DeCroop?
I'm in favor.
Okay. Trustee Benjamin?
Yes, in favor.
Okay, this is good. Okay. Trustee Nar?
Yes, in favor.
Thank you. Trustee Crocker?
Agreed.
Okay. Trustee Cameron? I think he gave me a favor in text.
Yes.
Yes, he did. Excellent. Sue Lawton gave me a yes in text, and I have a yes in text from Trustee Davies. Trustee Green, we have approved, and Trustee McDonald, myself, and that makes it unanimous. So we've gone through all the recommendations of this report, but as Trustee DeCroop said, I'll open the floor per trustee if they want to comment on the receipt of the directives as a general comment. So I'll start at the top of the list again. Trustee Sohi, do you want to make any comments of this report?
Hello?
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, do you want to make a comment? Sorry?
Yes.
Okay, please do.
Just like everyone else, I reviewed the report a couple of times, and the ministry's review confirmed the discrimination and racism. And we have let down the Black community and other communities, including Indigenous community, LGBTQ plus community, and the South Asian community. The report actually clearly states the problem of anti-Black racism that is present in the system, and it's extremely hurtful to read the experiences of the Black students and their parents and the community at large. Now we have the directives to follow, and we have started today following and then working on them, and I think this is the way to move forward and work on it expeditiously. I just want to talk about the neglect that has been pointed out by the report with the South Asian community, specifically Punjabi youth problems. I had personally pointed these problems and inequities out in numerous meetings with the management, superintendent, school administrators, as well as the director's office. So I'm glad that these problems have been highlighted in the problem with all the other issues. And now it's the time to move forward after acknowledging them and by correcting the situation as soon as possible. So I'm looking forward to work with everyone work on the relationship with the community to get the trust of the public back into the system, into the Canada's second largest education system. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sohi. Trustee Marchand, do you want to make a comment to this report?
No, I'll save those for an actual public meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Trustee McDonald? Trustee McDonald? Okay, I'll come back. Trustee DeCroop, you said you wanted to make a comment?
Yes, I would. I want to, first of all, thank the reviewers very much for their thorough investigation. This must have taken numerous hours and hours of work to be able to put together a report that was that thorough, really painted a very clear picture of what we had been talking about, what we had known what was going on at the Peel District School Board for a number of years. And it was quite heartbreaking for me, and I know for some of my colleagues, to read through the stories and read through the report, and really, because that really brought it to life and made it more substantial, made it so much more real to have that written in investigation from the government. I want to thank Minister Lecce for ordering the review, for giving us some direction of where we need to be going, which and I really want to thank him for taking this on, because this is a really big issue to take on, and to put a board under review is not an easy task. And I'm glad that we've undergone this process, because it really shines a light on I think truth and bringing things to the public, and shining a light on some of the problems that you have is the first step towards starting to work towards solutions. I'm very happy with a number of the directives that are included in the report. In fact, the vast majority of them. And I look forward to working with my colleagues on bringing them to light. I do want to add that this is a baseline of where we need to begin and how we need to move forward. We will still have work to do, though. Yes, I understand that our staff are going to be very, very busy ensuring that these directives are followed, and and we're meeting the deadlines, because that is important. But I just want to add that as a Board of Education, we need to continuously evolve. We need to continuously be progressing. So it's not that, okay, in 2020 we were able to get a bunch of the government what we need to do, how we're going to be the best board on the planet, and then we stop there. We always have work to do. We always have to see things through a critical anti-oppressive lens. And I hope that all of us start being more engaged in that work moving forward. And I look forward to a lot of the things that have already been talked about.
Thank you, Trustee DeGroop. Trustee McDonald, are you back online?
Yes, I am.
Okay, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. I just want to thank Minister for undertaking this, and especially for the reviewers, because I felt it was a very thorough review. But that being said, let my colleagues talk about this is the first step. But there have been many, many reports and many a first step. So I am more now focused, whereas this is a very important step. I think we have to now focus on doing the work and ensuring that, unlike the Stephen Lewis report that's almost 30 years old and really little has changed from a lot of the environments and outcomes for Black students in particular, marginalized students, special education needs students, kids in poverty, I think it's time to make sure that we see some concrete changes. And potentially, because I don't think our board is particularly unique, I think it's actually, I'm hoping that eventually this would go provincial and eventually countrywide, because these issues are real issues. And I received a very nasty letter from someone, of course is anonymous, with regards to the human rights finding, and the letter is dated March the 6th, and it just shows exactly how much work that we need to do. And I'll never forget the comment that Trustee Crocker made a couple of years ago that has always stuck with me when he said it. And he said a lot of the behaviors and attitudes and how people treat kids from different marginalized groups. If you examine the people who are doing it, the adults in the room, the people who are saying these hateful things, a lot of them are the product of public education. So somehow we have to, as a system, do better to ensure that generations going forward can see the humanity in each and every child. And that, our teachers' colleges will be turning out teachers that can see children who don't necessarily look like them as human beings, as people, as breathing children, that, and have high expectations for them. So that's I hope at the end of this, and I work earnestly for it. And one of the things I hope we will do is make sure that we bring the community along in this journey, because I think it's very important to ensure that the community voice is heard, and let the community, charge the community to hold us accountable. Because if we are seriously committed to doing the work, then we should be open to constructive criticism and always, as I like to say, be a lifelong learner, because we always try to tell our kids to be lifelong learners and always strive to do better. So I will be heading along with a positive mindset, as I anticipate that we will endeavor to develop concrete measures to dismantle anti-Black racism and all the other marginalization that occurs within this board, with special education, kids especially, and access to those programs. So that's my piece for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McDonald. I appreciate that. I see Trustee Aurora, that would be next on my list. Do you have any comments?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Trustee DeCruz already spoke. Trustee Benjamin, do you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Nard, do you want to make any comments?
Yes, I do.
Oh, sorry. Trustee Nard, you have some comments?
Yes.
Okay,
Chair, I
please.
think Trustee Aurora said she did as well.
Yeah, I see that too. So why don't we finish Trustee Nard, and then we'll come back to Trustee Aurora. I see that, yes, you have some comments. So Trustee
Okay.
Nard?
Yep. Through you, Chair, just like everyone else, I was also very upset and shocked while reviewing the report and stories from Black and marginalized students. I believe the board made the right decision by asking the help from the government to help amend policies and procedures and really rebuild the trust and confidence of students, parents, and families. I would also like to thank the reviewers for their hard work and hours and effort that they put into this report to help us listen to our community and move forward to make the changes that need to be made. I would just also like to ask a couple questions and comments from the report. So first, while going over the report, it was very shocking for me to know that 78% of secondary school suspensions and 40% of elementary school suspensions didn't fit the parameters of the ministry's definitions for other incident codes between 2013 and 2019. And as your student trustee, I would like to know if it's possible to inquire about the reasons within the board of why students are getting suspended and what are they getting suspended for under the other category.
I think that's a directive, isn't it? And so I'll hand that over to the director, so, and he can answer that. So we'll just wait for, Mark, are you there? Can we get the director? He's got a lot of buttons to push too. Okay, there you go, director.
Through you, Chair, just want to thank Student Trustee Nar for raising that question. That is one of the directives. That is a report that we are going to be bringing forward. We've got data that we'll be able to share. It's not a question that's easy to answer on the spot. There are a number of complexities in terms of the types of reasons that are beyond the ministry codes, and there are a set number of codes based on legislation that schools use when suspending students, and then there are other anomalies. But we are planning to bring that report forward, and we'll be able to, from there, use that as a baseline in terms of some changes that definitely need to be in place moving forward.
Thank you. Okay, does that answer, any other comments or questions? Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Yes, just one more comment. While reviewing the report, a concern with guidance counselors came up, which I wasn't too happy about, but glad to see, because I've spoken and communicated with student ambassadors from schools across Peel and wanted to bring this to the board's attention that unfortunately students do feel that our school guidance system needs to be reviewed and guidance counselors need to be supporting student decisions instead of deciding the future for them, as mentioned in the ministry's review. I'm glad this was part of the report, so now we as a board can start taking measures to ensure guidance counselors are accommodating towards all student needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nar. So back to Trustee Aurora.
Yes, thank you. And through you, Chair, could you hear me all right?
Yes.
So as the other trustees also mentioned, the findings of the report were really heart-shattering. And I think being a student at the board for most, it's super astonishing to know that this was happening to my fellow peers while I was going through an education. And it's so disappointing to know that the leaders that I look up to most could have been able to create such an environment for my friends. If I could go back in time and know this was happening, I would have done anything to stop it from getting worse. But I can't, and we can't. We can't ever restore the trust that was broken and the lives of the students that were disturbed and the dreams that we stole from these students and the hopes that we took down. But this report is a step forward. And so although we had to sacrifice a lot of children to get here, the lesson of this report that we learned, I think, was really immobilizing. And us students are so fortunate to have had the board reviewers spend countless of hours on finally hearing from us. I know that I've always talked about having an advisory group of students, and sometimes it's not been possible. So I think that having these board reviewers hear from students was so impactful, and it really helped restore some of the trust that we lost within our community. Equity in education is definitely not a choice. It's absolutely mandatory. And especially for a diverse board like ours, it's so disappointing to know that there lies so much diversity, even within adversity, even within our diverse backgrounds that we have. I just hope that even after I leave this tenure, our board continues to tackle these deeply rooted barriers to success that we have created and established for so many years, and that we're able to do this head on. I hope that we can not only celebrate and honor the diverse backgrounds of our students, but also accept them and not make it so that each student is known for their diverse background, but they bring that voice and that perspective on the table, and it's just something that's unique. We should be able to identify or label these students based on their diverse backgrounds. I think they make up our society. And so this report, although it is very heartbreaking, it's also a step forward for us as a board. And I just hope that we together can, tackle these issues head on.
Thank you, Trustee Nar. Trustee Crocker, do you have any comments you would like to make?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Cameron?
Not at this time, thank you.
Trustee Lawton? No comments. Trustee Davies? Trustee Davies, I'll unmute you. Trustee Davies?
No comments at this time. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Trustee Green, would you like to make a comment? Yes, so I'll get Mark, if you can turn Trustee Green mic on.
Thank you. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time to speak. And I want to start by saying I just want to read or just say a famous quote by one of my favorite person. And the quote said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make me feel. And as a person of color, when I read a report, I relive many things that I personally been through as a young man growing up and coming through the school system. I know that we have issue, and this is not, these issues are not common to Peel. It's something that is across the province. From what I can see from where I sit, because I talk to trustees right across the province and realize that this is a problem across, and not just the education system, but the system at large. I want to thank the reviewers. I want to thank the community and everyone that got involved to ensure that this report come forward. So I embrace the report. And even though the report from where I sit, there's areas that the report didn't touch on, but I'm hoping that this report becomes a roadmap and how we move forward. And those areas that the report itself didn't touch on, we will expand and we'll go deeper into those waters to ensure that we will do everything in our powers as elected official to ensure that each and every student that has been marginalized by, for whatever reason there is, that they will feel safe. They will feel that they have a space where they can come and feel valued and able to speak openly and feel that they belong, and they can hold those space and say, yes, I have a right to be in this space because I earned the right to be in those space. So I personally look forward not just working with the chair, working with the rest of my colleagues, the administration, and the community at large to ensure that we move forward, having a roadmap to help us to plant, the seed that needs to be planted. And not only that, this roadmap also provide, as you may hear me talk at this board table many times, talk about the accountable piece, and that's what's going to be key for me in working with my colleagues to ensure that we accomplish this task and even do more for the student that we serve. So I embrace the report, and I look forward to working together to ensure, because I believe at the end of the day, everyone, he's here at this table. He's here at this table for the right reason, and that those reasons are for our children to make sure that they're succeeding and achieving. And I hope that together we will now able to roll up our sleeve and get to work, and not just basically come out here and talk about it, but ensure that the work is done and that we hold each other accountable to ensure that our students can feel safe in their environment once they are entrusted into our hand, into our society. So I thank those that took part in the review, and thank the reviewers for bringing this report to us. And I look forward again, as I said, to ensure that these directives are implemented and go beyond the scope of the direction. So thank you, and I look forward to that work, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Green. I've heard some very good words and comments to the report before me, and I don't want to repeat them, but I do want to say that I thank the minister, and I want to thank the reviewers. And the minister and reviewers have given us 27 great directives to move ahead. They're going to be the blueprint, not just for the Peel School Board, but as the Vice Chair said, for the whole province to make a difference and tackle this problem that we have that is it's not just in our jurisdiction, it's across the province. So I want to thank the government for that. So I think we can move on now to I guess item 7, and that is reports from officials and staff, which we don't have any. We don't have a director's report, item 8. So I'm going to start with question period. We'll start at the top of the list again. So Trustee Sogi, do you have any questions?
Yes, through you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, maybe the director will be able to answer this question. So the times that we are going through, do we have any updates from the ministry regarding the online learning? And if we do, what will be the case for the kids who are not equipped or don't have, the proper means? Just any update from the ministry regarding this, and if we have, because I've been called by many high school students who are worried, who are looking at that if they will be receiving any updates or any assignments on the Google Docs and stuff like that. So if there is any update on that.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Sohi. So, Director.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, thank you for the question, Trustee Sohi. We are in close contact with the ministry on a regular basis. Our team, myself as a director and other directors across the province are on teleconference with them twice weekly. And to date, we are, as our public is aware, we have been publicizing access to the self-directed approaches to learning at home, which is the current platform that the ministry has put together. They have asked us to begin just some planning on some possibilities and looking at ways to address the kinds of questions that you, Trustee, have outlined around access to technology, the availability of internet, and what does learning look like, teacher-directed learning look like, what will assessments look like, et cetera. So we are in the planning stages. We're awaiting some direction from the ministry, and they have asked us to put on hold any steps to actually begin this until they've given us clear direction. So we anticipate that we'll hear more in our teleconference on Thursday, but we've been assured that for the moment, students are just being asked to access learning at home on the ministry's website, and we've been asked to ensure that our educators and others are just on hold for now in terms of learning. They can, however, make contact with respect to the wellness needs of our students. If there are educators and other professionals who have some type of electronic contact with students, that kind of communication can continue for now. But we will certainly update our public and our trustees as information.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Trustee Sohi?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Marchand, do you have any questions?
Nothing at this time, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Trustee McDonald, do you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
I have a couple, actually. So I'll start with the COVID-19 questions. So I had a meeting earlier today. I'm a trustee representative for not as the board, but as asked by the mayor to sit on the youth task force for the city of Brampton. And they were discussing with organizations how to support and serve Brampton youth today. And, sorry, I forgot that. And especially with this pandemic that has really changed life as we know it. And a request was made for community group if it was possible to have access to school portables to get access to the Wi-Fi, or if there's any way you could get students could access the Wi-Fi while still practicing social distancing. Sorry, that's the first question.
Okay, Mark, I'll put Director Mike on.
Through you, Chair. Thank you. If I understand the first question from Trustee McDonald, just asking about the possibility of access to portables and potentially to Wi-Fi for families and students, and that is very much the question on our floor right now. We have been asked by the ministry to hold off on next steps. However, they are currently looking at the availability of spaces that we have across our board. There are a number of things that need to be coordinated, certainly locally, but also provincially in terms of support for our communities. So we're just in the process of providing them information as requested, and they are looking at ways to support us in terms of providing access overall. So I appreciate the trustees' comment and the involvement with the city as well. A lot of this work will require some coordination with our municipalities. But at this time, we're just we're putting our questions and comments forward, and we're trying to coordinate with our cities and also with the ministry. So again, these are the types of things that should be coming forward in the next number of days as we engage in our teleconferences with the ministry. So thank you for the questions. These are things we'll put forward to get some more concrete answers. And I do apologize for the vagueness at this time, but it's just that we've been asked very clearly to wait before we provide the solutions. We're very anxious, as you are, to ensure that our students and families have what they need.
Okay, thank you for that. So my follow-up question to that is, so whilst it's important to make sure that we are safe physically and from a standpoint of getting infected from the COVID-19 virus, we have a lot of youth who are having a hard time coping with the isolation. For many youth also, school is a safe place for them, and for a lot of youth that are in high risk or socially precarious situations, school is the one place where they were getting at least one decent meal. So I was just wondering, how are we trying to ensure that our vulnerable students, even though they're not on property now, that they're taken care of, even like their mental health needs, their learning needs, how are we making sure that the kids are not having this huge, they already had a lot of disruptions already, and just this huge learning loss, right? So I'm just wondering, what are we doing to tackle that, especially the mental health piece?
Thank you, and through you, Chair, Trustee McDonald, again, you raised some very good points. I'll say a few things, and I'll just invite if my colleagues want to chime in. We have provided, at this point, online access to mental health supports, et cetera, for our students, recognizing, as the trustee has pointed out, that an online environment is not always the best environment for some students. So the ministry has, or the government has, increased access to Kids Help phone lines so that there can be some more person-to-person contact. We're currently working with our colleagues in other boards as well to step up the level of local resource that we can have to meet the mental health needs of our students. But as the trustee has pointed out, I think what we all struggle with is we know the importance of the face-to-face contact and the opportunity to provide spaces for our students while they go through this very difficult time of isolation. And we have to balance that with the importance of social and physical distancing. So we look to our government and ministry to continue to dialogue with us as we pose these big questions. We are looking also at, as I mentioned earlier, locally and in our own board, we have some teams of our professionals around, electronically around the table, looking at next steps into how they can continue to communicate with students and help certainly our most vulnerable students. With respect to the nutritional needs, we also recognize that our students rely on things like our breakfast programs, et cetera. So we're working closely or trying to make connections through the Y and through our food banks, et cetera, to see where we can offer the kinds of supports that we have. So recognizing that currently our school buildings are closed. I do want to turn things over to Associate Director Harmon, who may have some additional comments with regard to mental health supports as our team has been working on some approaches. And this will include some work from our social work team as they have been collaborating to look at how they can continue their connections. Quite often our social workers, as you know, are the first point of contact for our most vulnerable students. So they have not lost sight of their responsibility and in that regard. So if I may turn things over to Associate Director Harmon for a minute to comment on the mental health pieces, if we can try to coordinate that.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So through you, Chair McDonald, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about a committee that actually had a teleconference today at 1 o'clock. It is chaired by Superintendent Demir, participation by Superintendent Moynihan, Director Pereira, as well as a number of senior staff. We're approaching mental health with 4 pillars that we hope to have in place by the middle of next week. First and foremost, we're looking to have an electronic version of our critical incident response team ready and prepared. Should there be a tragedy in our school, a death, etc., we would want that team to be ready and prepared to mobilize from a distance and obviously offer support with an understanding of the social distancing requirements that we are facing right now. On a similar vein, we hope by the end of this week to have staff supports sent out, and those will come from Superintendent Demir's department. We would have our mental health staff working on those so that principals and other managers and leaders in the system would have those available to support staff who may be undergoing stress, etc., some mental health issues right now, because of course we know if we want to support our students, we need our staff to be mentally healthy. We are also coordinating our PSSP staff so that our social workers and psychologists are fully available to deliver whatever services they can, or at least close to normal services to our students as soon as we start up again. Superintendent Moynihan is leading that work, so we do intend to have psychology and social work supports given to students as soon as we are back and perhaps before. And certainly we are preparing some mental health resources for all of our staff to be available starting next week, so that we do in fact have supports ready for staff even before kids come back to school. If we begin to reach out and make contact with students who are having some problems with isolation, etc., there will be some supports and resources made available to them through our mental health team, as well as Chief Van Buskirk and Chief Camrad. So we started this at 1 o'clock today. We meet again at 10 o'clock on Thursday. We look to share everything at 11 o'clock with our full contingency on Thursday, and hopefully start rolling these out by the end of this week.
Okay, thank you for that. because the other piece I was going to ask about the staff is with regards to the ministry review, right? A lot of staff also have spoke about a sense of hopelessness and the trauma of reading the report. And, you know, even one staff in particular who identifies as a Muslim lady was saying how it was, she had a hard time getting through it. People would say that they reach page 12 and they're crying. If you read the report by Royce and James, the article, it came out yesterday in the Star, I believe it was. And I think we also need to make sure that we are checking in with our staff. I know we have this plan, but I don't know if they have access to it whilst the board is under, like we're under these unusual circumstances. And even for our teachers required, like when they're home, to somehow say put any online posting for kids, or is there any component for that presently?
Sure. So I can jump in and answer both of those questions. I think for the first one around the report and trauma for staff, I know that Superintendent Demir, Superintendent Moynihan are online. We'll make sure that is on our agenda Thursday for 10 o'clock, so we will address that going forward as well. The second part is that we are hoping in our communication out to staff and principals, give some direction around what contact with kids will look like going forward. We do know that already many of our teachers are reaching out to students and beginning to obviously check in with them. Many of them would also be available through a variety of technological resources for students to reach out back to them. So all of that is in place. So we do, in fact, have those supports starting for kids, and we will obviously formalize those going forward. Now, in terms of the trauma for staff, we would also have supports through human resources. We would have Homewood Health available as well, as my colleague, Associate Director Grable, has just pointed out. Thank you, Pauline. So we would have additional resources available for those staff that do wish to reach out. So it will be a fully comprehensive plan that comes out on all fronts. Again, we're working on that and hope to roll that out for next week. But the short answer right now is if kids do reach out to a teacher, there will be responses. I'm aware that are already happening, and we do hope to formalize what that will look like in the next couple of days, because we will require all of our teachers to in time reach out to all of our kids, academically, but certainly we're very aware of the mental health strains that come with the isolation, obviously the raw scariness of what we're facing as well.
Thank you for that. And my other question is,
Trustee McDonald, Director wants to add.
Trustee McDonald, I just wanted to add to Associate Director Harmon's comments, and thank you also for your comments and questions. The other part of this, certainly besides our support for our staff through Homewood Health, we are going to continue our conversations with our union leaders, et cetera. And we know that a number of our staff who belong to unions and federations will need the support of their union leaders. We'll work collaboratively to ensure that our staff are supported. And with respect to the ministry report and review and the directives, we know that there's a wealth of expertise and insight from our staff. So we intend to, in whatever means possible, if it's electronic now, but certainly moving forward when possible, have the face-to-face conversations with staff. We know they have a lot to offer in helping us move forward. So, so we thank you for those comments.
Thank you. And you know, when you go on the Peel Board's website, you have that dashboard, I believe it's called, where you get these little snippets of information. I was wondering if we could have, and probably that's a question for Director Pereira, in terms of, even she was at the meeting today with me, and for example, I informed everybody in the meeting, and when we learned about the Amazon, they're not selling any online books for kids, whereas the kids are still out of school. It's a free resource. So if we could have something that parents, when they go on our website, like an information page, like how to survive COVID-19, the educational, journey or something like that, and have a sort of information page for parents, the resources. I think that would be helpful, because a lot of people are scrambling to try and find resources and help. And I think our board website is a good place to house this information. So that's, I guess, kind of a commenty question. And then I have a bit of a rhetorical question, because I realized that I didn't hear when Chair McDonald, when you were speaking at the beginning of the meeting, but I was wondering if, just for the interest for the public understanding, how did the board decide which of the six recommendations that that were brought forward today? So just wondering if that could be explained to the public.
About the 6 recommendations?
Yeah, that we dealt with in the meeting, why didn't we deal with,
And I read out in the report, the first action, the actions that we took tonight are specific to the directives that require submissions on March 26. And so we only did those items. We're not dealing with the report as a wholesome item. We're really, in many, as you can see, housekeeping kind of requirements to stop the hiring process, to get the expert parliamentarian on board, and to receive the directives. So it wasn't really to address the report of the directives. It was really just to achieve our March 26 commitments that the government needs from us. Otherwise, if we don't meet those commitments, then the investigator comes in, and then a supervisor takes the board over, and no longer does the Board of Trustees run the school board, a supervisor does. So that's why we had to have this meeting, and to clear up those things. I hope that answers it.
My last 2 questions regards to the public participation in meetings. So going forward, will the public have a means so they can delegate electronically and they can ask questions at question period time?
Yeah, so in my opening remarks, I started off talking about at our next public board meeting, we're going to have a delegation and question period. It will not be in this room. We will be doing it electronically. They're still working through the ideas. Worst case option would be a delegate submit a video and we play the video. And question period is sent to an email address that we answer live. That would be the worst case. We're trying to look at other more interactive process online, but that is where we're going to support at our next public board meeting, which tentatively or in our schedule is April 15th.
Okay, thank you. My final question is around trespassing and the whole process of trespassing parents or community. Is there a way, does the board currently have a mechanism to appeal a trespass notice? And if not, is there, how does one go about developing a trespass kind of process or appeal process?
I'm going to have to give that to the director. You're asking a question, is there a process for issuing trespass notice?
No, for appealing.
Oh,
a trespass notice.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Yes, I will pass that over to the director, if you can answer.
How do you appeal a trespass notice? Yes.
So through the chair, we follow a legislative process, and we also get legal advice on issuing a trespass
I think it's the appeal, though. What
notice.
does it?
To my knowledge, I'll have to get back to you on
Question period.
process.
Yeah, I think that's a legal question. We'll have to get back to you on that.
Sorry, I just
No, I don't know the legalities. Like, do we have a process? How do you direct somebody to appeal a trespass?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We do have some language. There is a process that you can go through our leadership development school support department, and there's a process that and language that people can follow in terms of appealing any of those particular steps, and we can make that clear on our website if that's the will of the board.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. And going forward, I would suggest probably when you issue the letter to, they should show parent, just like when we get a suspension, you tell them how they can appeal it. We should have something so that whoever gets a trespass letter knows how they can appeal it if they want to, going forward.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
My understanding is that is actually clear in the letter, but I'll check to ensure that that is the case. Sorry, Trustee McDonald, Chair McDonald and Trustee McDonald, if I can just jump back to just to assure Trustee Kay McDonald in her questions about our board website and the support for students and learning. I'm not sure that we answered that question, but we do have some information on our board website, and Director Pereira has just assured me that she'll double back to ensure there's a link to the ministry page where they are continuing to curate and collate different types of resources, as including links to various companies and resources. So while we won't make the link to an independent company, we will link to what the ministry currently has. And part of our planning right now is to continue to develop our own board set of resources in preparation for when we're given the green light to move towards teacher-directed and learning online and assessment.
Okay.
Oh, that's great. But I think when you have the ticket, that little dashboard at the top, the less clicks, because sometimes if a parent, let's say, have to get through 6 clicks to find something, they kind of will give up. But if it's on that banner at the top, I think it's very accessible, easy for them to get the information.
Thank you for your comments. I'll move down to Trustee Aurora. Do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you, and through you, Chair. I know that the AP examinations have not been canceled, like the IB examinations, but they have been moved online. So my question is regarding how the board plans to support students that will be taking these examinations, and especially those students who do not have access to technology or Wi-Fi.
Pass that over to the director. You'll answer that.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, my apologies for the vagueness in my answer, but those are exactly the types of things that our planning table is looking at right now. We know that our teachers and are very anxious to support students as soon as possible, and we recognize that we're going to have to find alternative ways to support those students who may not have access to technology, or in some cases, our students who don't have the comfort level or the means to really learn effectively online. So we are looking at alternatives other than just providing resources online. I will say at this point, just stay tuned, but those are really important questions that we're grappling with. There's a number of suggestions that are floating around, how to make paper copies available, et cetera, bearing in mind that we have to be very careful about social distancing, et cetera. So it's on the table, and we should have some answers soon as we get some more direction from the ministry.
Great. Any other questions, Trustee Aurora? Okay, thank you. Trustee DeCroop.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a few questions. And first of all, I've gotten a lot of questions from the community. And I know that perhaps some of this stuff has been explained a bit, but if you could, because this is the meeting and people are listening, if you could explain why we went from a regular meeting and which was canceled and then to a supplementary meeting, and what the difference between the two, just for the public knowledge, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So back at our board meeting 2 weeks ago, before the board actually had the report and directives from the government, we knew that something was going to be coming imminently. So we wanted to cancel the public meeting and wait and focus on the directives. Now, when the directives came on the 13th, we saw immediately in there was a deadline of the 26th. If they had the deadline to the next board meeting of the 15th April, 3 weeks later, we could have done that meeting at a regular board public meeting. But they didn't. They requested us to do it on the 26th. So in our bylaws, we have 2 types of special meetings to deal with we call it one issue items, and that is a supplementary meeting or an extraordinary meeting. Basically, the difference between a supplementary and extraordinary meeting is the notice. So in this case, we gave 72 hours notice, but if we had an extraordinary meeting, we can give 8 hours notice to deal with something in a really emergency, that if something was done by the government tonight or tomorrow and we have to act right away, then we have an extraordinary meeting. So this meeting that we're having here tonight is specifically as a one-issue item. As I said, and we've gone through it tonight, is specifically around dealing with deliverables and directive items on Thursday, the 26th. Yes.
Okay.
So,
And my second.
and so just to let you know that this, to cancel the meeting was also a conversation which we had with the government at the time, because they, knew what was coming down the pipe, and we didn't know that the directives, we didn't know the deadlines, and so again, that was another reason to cancel the public meeting. Sorry, and the Vice Chair reminded me of that.
Okay. My second question is, one of the directives is about issuing an apology to the community, to the Black community, about some of the concerns that have been raised. And the deadline for that is March 26th. So people are a little bit concerned why this was not discussed at today's meeting. So if you could just shine a light on what the plan is and what the process is going to be, and how we're going to meet that deadline, that would be great.
Yeah, so that deadline is just to give, when we talked to the Associate Deputy Minister on Friday the 13th, we asked him specifically about that item, and he says it's not that we have the apology on the 26th, it's actually to have a process in which we were going to go through the apology. And in that conversation, he indicated that the apology would have to be vetted through the government before it becomes public.
Okay. And that's helpful for, I think, the public to know that, it's going to go through another layer before it becomes public. And a couple more. One of the directives talks about an equity office, and we have to submit the plan by March 31st, but we're not going to have another public board meeting before March 31st. So are the trustees going to even see this equity plan before it's submitted? The plan to create the office?
Yeah, so this is where I'll pass it over to the director, because that is a directive at the operational side of the board.
Through you, Chair, thank you for the question. We've actually been appointed a team from the ministry who will be working with us over the next number of days. When these directives were set out and the timelines were set out, it was certainly before any decisions were made around COVID-19 and shutdown of our schools and access to teams. That being said, we've put some suggestions forward. We've been assured that we'll have some opportunity to work with the ministry team to look at timelines and the ability to get a plan forward for the trustees to review, and then, of course, the next steps to actually begin putting some things in place.
Sure, thank you. And the report itself highlights a few of the concerns about the Human Rights Commissioner's office and how that's structured, and how it operates. And I know that is still active, but now the direction is that she's going to be completely independent and be more arm's length. So what does that mean for the cases that she had already been involved with, and the director's office had already been involved with? What is that process going to look like? Is there going to be some sort of concrete plan for the things that had already been going on and still ongoing when this office becomes a separate entity?
Through the director, thank you.
So through you, Chair, there's some things in the directive that we'll be working with the ministry team on with respect to to what has been noted, what's actually in place, what are the realities. I can assure you that there are some suggestions that the director's office was involved in cases. In fact, we were not, but we'll be working with the ministry team on ensuring that the public is very aware and understanding. I'll need to get the ministry team to review the current cases and what their recommendations are on those. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, so they're going to be involved in helping us restructure that entire thing, right?
Through you, Chair, as noted in the directives, we are going to be engaging some expertise to help us look at structures and how we move forward effectively.
Okay. One more question. I think a couple more questions, but this one, Trustee Kathy McDonald touched upon a little bit when she talked about the appeal process for a trespass order. Is the board able to overturn a trespass order via motion? Can somebody put a motion on the floor? And because it is, so my understanding how this works is that this is about Peel property. So this is private property. So this is like me saying, you're not allowed to come to my house, right? But if can the board as a collective, 12 trustees, via motion overturn a trespass order if it's been issued by the director?
I think we're going to have to get,
We'll get some legal advice on. Sorry.
I think we're going to have to, I think we'll get back to you on that question.
Yeah, can we make sure that piece is in writing? Because I think that's important.
It will be emailed to all the trustees.
Perfect. And one more thing, I've heard a lot from the community, of course, as everybody has, and I'm sure you've read a lot of the news media and all of that. And I think the overall reaction to the report has been, very heartbreaking for many people. And I think the biggest thing that I've heard from a lot of people is they would like to see actions which are included in the directions, but also accountability. And I think that's something that I've had people tweet at me tonight, that they haven't heard the word accountability at all during this meeting. I just wanted to make sure that somebody said it, so I'm saying it, accountability. Here we go.
I think we said accountability, but the directives have a lot of accountability in it. So, we're not dealing with all the directives tonight. We're just dealing with the 26, or we're dealing with our little few that we have to each of the March 26th. But thank you for your comments. We'll move on to the next trustee Benjamin. Do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I know it may sound repetitive, but I had a question from a parent.
Yep.
Will teachers post lessons on Google Class? And the second question from the same parent was, will newsletters be going home from principals?
Good question. So Joshua will answer that for you.
So through you, Chair, just a response to the first question, as mentioned earlier, but thank you for the reminder question. We are just awaiting some direction right now from the ministry in terms of next steps with respect to teacher involvement in posting information and assessments. Right now, we've been clearly told that students should access and families can access the Learning at Home website from the ministry for some self-directed learning. We've been asked to just sit tight and go through some planning, come up with our questions, comments, suggestions, solutions, and then this will be coordinated so that all of our students across the province are given the same opportunity. It's really very important that we're consistent in our approach, but we recognize that this is an anxious time for our learners, and we all want to get to this time when we can roll up our sleeves and support them. So as mentioned earlier, in the next number of days, we'll be in close connection with the ministry, and we'll learn more about when we can move forward to start to provide teacher-directed learning online what we would refer to as distance learning, which would include assessments. And my apologies, the second question, if you could repeat that, Trustee Benjamin?
It was about will newsletters be going home from principals?
Again, with respect to next steps, we'll be coordinating communication. Once we have more information regarding the continuation or not, we've heard certainly from some news information media spots on the Premier stating that this will continue, but we need official word, and then we'll coordinate with our school principals on getting messages out. Right now, best place for our families to go is our own board website, and we've got some frequently asked questions and communication around how to support our students and families in the meantime, and then we'll coordinate what can start happening at the local school level.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Trustee Benjamin?
Thank you, Director. And I'd just like to say that the March 20 update that was put on Peel District School Board's website was really very useful, and it has a lot of information. Some of the questions have already been answered, especially regarding deadlines, which I had. I have also one suggestion to make to, maybe it was Trustee McDonald. The Mississauga libraries, they have online reading portals where our kids can go online and do their reading. And one more, the last one is, we're not used to social distancing, but our young people are connected on social media. And one of the things that, we discussed at the Interfaith Council was about making short, funny or positive videos and, posting it online, on Twitter, etc. So you can, spread the message of positiveness and make life more bearable. And lastly, to all the members of the Peel District family, I only hope that you will continue to practice social distancing for the next 2 or 3 weeks so that we can get over this problem and we do not make it longer. Thank you very much. Good night.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to Trustee Nard. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Crocker?
No, thank you, Chair.
Trustee Cameron?
Not at this time, Chair.
Do I have any from Trustee? I think I see no comment. Okay, from Trustee. Trustee Lawton, do you have any? No questions, but I'd like to thank staff who are working so hard to help our kids, individual teachers who are checking in with their students, and our central board office staff who are working on programs and support for the staff and family. That's from Trustee Lawton. Trustee Davies has no questions. Comments. Normally this is question period, but I'm allowing comments, especially in this COVID pandemic kind of era that we're dealing with. Trustee Vice Chair Green would like to talk, so we'll put it up to him next.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, this is a question period, but I think that some information that I may have to offer is very viable to our community, especially to our marginalized youths. I have been sitting in about 3 different task force dealing with the COVID-19 throughout the region, and one of them that I sit on is the Region of Peel Task Force, and we're meeting 3 times per week. Actually, our next meeting is tomorrow. And because I heard Trustee McDonald ask about question and information, how to educate parents, just for that, Trustee McDonald, there's a lot. The Region of Peel is posting information daily, and they're getting that from the federal Officer of Health. So you can direct parents there to that website, and they have set up a place on the website so it's easily accessible and easily followed. And there's a lot of information there. one of the things that also is happening in the community, because I'm myself, who runs also an organization that support marginalized youth in the community, is really the breakfast program, because we are working with a particular food bank, which I won't mention by name right now, that we are actually got volunteers going door to door to some of the schools or some of the students in my ward, and in the community that I serve. Right now, I was just sent an email today that they don't have any masks. So while I was here today, I had a mask on Amazon, and hopefully those will come so we can continue to provide support to those families that we're supporting right now. But I just want to ask the director, hopefully in the next round of meeting with the government, you could probe them a little bit around, that material for those who don't, especially those students who may not have access to the internet or so forth, because I got 15, and I'll put it out there, I got 15 a marginalized Black student that I'm working with right now, and 2 of my staff are working with them and using Skype to mentor them. And I will tell you, one of them is 15, one is 17, and they can barely read. And for students like these, we need all the support that they can get to help them to succeed. Just actually on my way down here this morning, based on what some work that my staff put together, I was able to just drop off at the door, just ring the doorbell. They knew I was coming. Just ring the doorbell for them to pick it up. But it's difficult, especially for those ones who have challenges right now, especially with reading. And these are 2 newcomers to the country, and are really struggling very hard. So whatever discussion you can have with the ministry to really probe deeply for these particular students who don't have access to technology, how can we support them? Because I know we got staff that is out there, and staff would be willing to offer some sort of mentorship and so forth, because I know their heart is in the right place to support the kids. So if you could probe a little bit around that and how we can go about doing that, I'd really appreciate that. So again, I just want to thank all the we got 81 agency right now that is active and is working in the community, especially within the region of Peel, to try to address some of the issues that have been faced by the community. But at the same time, we have to make sure that our staff and our volunteers are safe, because that's the key, that they're safe.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you, Trustee Green, for your comments. And certainly we have put that on the table at the ministry level, most definitely, that we need to think about our students with identified special needs, our students who are in ESL programming, our English language learners, and that we know online learning is not always the most effective approach for some students. So we have to look at alternative ways. I do want to acknowledge the very hard work that's happening right now from a number of our folks on our central teams, but also reaching out to a number of others. Our staff are lining up in many ways to offer supports and to offer solutions so that we can ensure that each and every one of our students can learn in the most effective way. This is an opportunity for us to look at empowering modern learners, yes, and the exciting ways that we can embrace this type of learning. But as Trustee Green has pointed out, we can't forget that for some students, they need that alternative approach to learning, and they need that strong connection, often one-to-one type of connection. So please be assured that we have all of that in mind as we're looking to move forward. And we are looking, as I mentioned earlier, at paper copies being available, albeit ensuring that everyone is safe throughout, and that we haven't created any undue stress or harm when it comes to having documents and approaches where we've taken into consideration that safe distance between people. But that is on our table, most definitely. Thank you. And a thanks to the many community organizations, as you've mentioned, who are willing to partner with us. We're all in this together, and then we know that we can support our students and families if we work collectively. I do believe that while we're looking at solutions right now for a difficult, challenging time, there'll be some great learning that will help carry us forward when all of this is done. The strong connection and collaboration that we are building to support our students is something that I'm mindful that we need to have in place for many years to come. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's all the question period. So I'm going to go for adoption of the in-committee report. So Vice Chair Green, you're going to put that on the floor. I'll ask Trustee Crocker, would you second that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to go all there in favor, say yes.
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 Yeah, I think I got approval on that. And then I'm going to go for adjournment. Trustee DeCroop, do you want to put that on the floor?
Sure.
Trustee K. McDonald, would you like to second that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, all those in favor, say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everyone. That's the adjournment meeting, and please be safe, keep your distance, and we'll get through this as a team and a group and families and community and students and staff. Thank you so much. Good night.